The supposition that the future resembles the past is not founded on arguments of any kind, but is derived entirely from habit. It is impossible for us to think of anything which we have not antecedently felt, either by our external or internal senses. We need only reflect on what has been proved at large, that we are never sensible of any connection betwixt causes and effects, and that 'tis only by our experience of their constant conjunction we can arrive at any knowledge of this relation. But to proceed in this reconciling project with regard to the question of liberty and necessity, the most contentious question of metaphysics, the most contentious science, we choose our favorite author as we do our friend, from a conformity of humor and disposition, mirth or passion, sentiment or reflection, whichever of these most predominates in our temper. It gives us a peculiar sympathy with the writer who resembles us. Kitsch is a species of beauty, which, as it is florid and superficial, pleases at first, but soon palls upon the taste, and is rejected with disdain, at least rated at much lower value. If God is omnipotent, omniscient, and wholly good, whence evil? If God wills to prevent evil but cannot, then he is not omnipotent. If he can prevent evil but does not, then he is not good. In either case he is not God. Obscurity, indeed, is painful to the mind as well as to the eye, but to bring light from obscurity, by whatever labor, must needs be delightful and rejoicing. A delicacy of taste is favorable to love and friendship by confining our choice to few people, and making us indifferent to the company and conversation of the greater part of men. Human nature is the only science of man, and yet has been hitherto the most neglected. It is harder to avoid censure than to gain applause, for this may be done by one great or wise action in an age. But to escape censure a man must pass his whole life without saying or doing one ill or foolish thing. He is happy whom circumstances suit his temper, but he is more excellent who suits his temper to any circumstance. To be a philosophical skeptic is, in a man of letters, the first and most essential to being a sound, believing Christian. To hate, to love, to think, to feel, to see, all this is nothing but to perceive. I am ready to reject all belief and reasoning, and can look upon no opinion even as more probable or likely than another. Liberty of any kind is never lost all at once. Morals and criticism are not so properly objects of the understanding as of taste and sentiment. The minds of men are mirrors to one another, not only because they reflect each other's emotions, but also because those rays of passions, sentiments, and opinions may be often reverberated, and may decay away by insensible degrees. The simplest and most obvious cause which can there be assigned for any phenomena is probably the true one. Where ambition can cover its enterprises, even to the person himself, under the appearance of principle, it is the most incurable and inflexible of passions. No truth appears to me more evident than that beasts are endowed with thought and reason as well as men. While Newton seemed to draw off the veil from some of the mysteries of nature, he showed at the same time the imperfections of the mechanical philosophy, and thereby restored her ultimate secrets to that obscurity, in which they ever did and ever will remain. Scholastic learning and polemical divinity retarded the growth of all true knowledge. The more instances we examine, and the more care we employ, the more assurance shall we acquire that the enumeration, which we form from the whole, is complete and entire. Custom is the great guide to human life. Everything in the world is purchased by labor. Time is a perishable commodity. It is as easy for the imagination to form monsters and to join incongruous shapes and appearances as it is to conceive the most natural and familiar objects. That the sun shines tomorrow is a judgment that is as true as the contrary judgment. A propensity to hope and joy is real riches, one to fear and sorrow real poverty. What we call a mind is nothing but a heap or collection of different perceptions, united together by certain relations and supposed, though falsely, to be endowed with a perfect simplicity and identity. Among the arts of conversation no one pleases more than mutual deference or civility, which leads us to resign our own inclinations to those of our companions, and to curb and conceal that presumption and arrogance so natural to the human mind. Barbarity, caprice, these qualities, however nominally disguised, we may universally observe from the ruling character of the deity in all regular religions. When men are most sure and arrogant, they are commonly most mistaken, giving views to passion without that proper deliberation which alone can secure them from the grossest absurdities. The advantages found in history seem to be of three kinds: as it amuses the fancy, as it improves the understanding, and as it strengthens virtue. It is a certain rule that wit and passion are entirely incompatible. When the affections are moved, there is no place for the imagination. When I turn my eye inward, I find nothing but doubt and ignorance. All the world conspires to oppose and contradict me, though such is my weakness, that I feel all my opinions loosen and fall of themselves, when unsupported by the approbation of others. It affords a violent prejudice against almost every science, that no prudent man, however sure of his principles, dares prophesy concerning any event, or foretell the remote consequences of things. Nothing more powerfully excites any affection than to conceal some part of its object, by throwing it into a kind of shade, which at the same time that it shows enough to prepossess us in favor of the object, leaves still some work for the imagination. There is no such thing as freedom of choice unless there is freedom to refuse. In all governments, there is a perpetual intestine struggle, open or secret, between authority and liberty, and neither of them can ever absolutely prevail in the contest. The free conversation of a friend is what I would prefer to any environment. Habit may lead us to belief and excitation, but not to the knowledge, and still less to the understanding, of lawful relations. Grief and disappointment give rise to anger, anger to envy, envy to malice, and malice to grief again, till the whole circle be completed. There is nothing, in itself, valuable or despicable, desirable or hateful, beautiful or deformed, but that these attributes arise from the particular constitution and fabric of human sentiment and affection. No advantages in this world are pure and unmixed. Superstition is an enemy to civil liberty.